Okay. Here we go.
Oh my gosh. My ears.
Ready? Here's how we're gonna start. Here's how we're gonna start. Ready? My wife left me.
Fox TV.
The Fox Disney Channel.
Wow, that was awful.
Hey guys, welcome to the Sundance Kid Podcast. I'm Junior Nelson. We're here with
Nick Yarrow.
Malcolm Hatfield.
And Jake Winkle.
And we're the Sundance Kids. Because we live in Utah, we like movies.
And Butch Cassidy couldn't make it.
It's kind of like a play out of words. At Sundance Film Festival happens close to us.
Some Butch Cassidy couldn't make it though. Something about him with like some kids went to trial. And, you know, went to prison.
He went to a white collar prison.
Yeah, it's really sort of nice actually. It's sort of like Sweden almost.
Well, this is the Sundance Kids Podcast. We're here to talk about movies and what we thought about them. We're gonna release a podcast every week and talk about films that we liked or disliked and why we liked or disliked them. And the first week, we want to introduce ourselves a little bit and talk about the movie that everyone's talking about. And that's of course, we're talking about Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story.
Cats.
Cat. No, we're going to talk about Cats next week once we have the chance to see it. I'm going to see that on $5 Movie Tuesday.
I just might pirate it.
$5 Movie Tuesday is also Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody. If you're listening to this on Christmas, which likely you aren't.
No, you're not. I hope you spend time with your family. If you're listening to this on Christmas, turn it the hell off. Okay.
If you're listening to this at all, though,
actually, I don't
like ever.
So the reason we're making this podcast is we all hate each other, and
we're here to argue about movies.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate today. So before we dive into it, I feel like what we should do is, before we start, just all around, what's your score out of 10? And then we'll dive into the details.
Okay.
And then I was thinking maybe we talk about just some stuff and go into maybe more spoiler territory after a certain bit, once we cover the nitty gritty, just because I don't want it to be kind of interspersed throughout if people just want to listen, even though they haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can definitely start spoiler free. And then at a certain point, we'll make it very clear that we're going into spoilers.
I'll find a cool like an announcement soundbite.
We are going into spoiler mode.
My ass cheeks are sore. That'll be like the code word.
My ass cheeks are always sore. Because I do squats, ladies and gentlemen. I think we just say, hey, spoilers are coming up.
Hey guys, there's going to be some spoilers. All right.
If you want to be boring.
We're going to go around and talk about Star Wars. We're going to talk about our scores out of 10 just to start off with what we'd give it. We all saw it 6 a.m. on Friday.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That was a funny story.
Inadvisable. I was sick the rest of the day.
Yeah, I felt like
I've been sick since then.
Yeah, same.
Me too.
And it had nothing to do with midichlorians. All right. Also, I think what's important is that we say what our thoughts were on The Last Jedi. Because as I've seen reviews come out,
that's true.
I think a huge part of people's scores on this movie have something to do with with their opinions on.
That's very
true.
Then you'll probably see a lot of reflection on that, especially with me. So we'll start. Jake, start with The Last Jedi. What was your score on it?
I don't think you need to score The Last Jedi. Just say what you thought.
Well, should I do out of like all movies or as like a Star Wars film?
Probably both.
Just I think.
All right, so
just do it.
Just get. What are your opinions?
Like overall, like out of all the movies out there, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. But as it comes to Star Wars films, I would give it a 1 out of 10. Or a 0.5 out of 10. I don't know.
Oh no!
I thought it was reprehensible.
Yeah. Okay.
Is
Is it reprehensible or irreprehensible?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was retarded.
Can we say that on there?
Yeah,
Sure.
Who cares?
You can say whatever you want.
Can you say that on TV?
You say that there's no rules here. It's podcast land. No one's listening to this anyway.
Yeah, right.
We're 20-year-old white guys. What do we have to say?
I'm not white.
Junior's half white.
So that means we have like what?
So that's a pretty low.
We can do like the Steven Crowder.
Yeah,
This is my half white Mexican.
honestly.
So
Yeah, that's fine.
So 5 and then a 1.
So I would say this is how I describe Last Jedi. Last Jedi was a Star Wars film for people who don't like Star Wars films.
Yes.
It did all these things. Every reviewer that liked that movie didn't like Star Wars. It did all these weird things, and people thought it was really cool and rad because it had like new characters that were like different than ever before. But it was really just, and the characters' decisions weren't really reflective of their past, and I thought they were just bad decisions. So honestly, I would say Last Jedi is. I ranked the Star Wars films the other day, and I think The Last Jedi is near the bottom. And I actually think there's a prequel better than it. I think that Revenge of the Sith is better than it, and Phantom Menace is borderline better than it.
Yeah.
And that's far, and I know because the craft is better. The craft's better, right? It's better shot, and not the whole movie isn't on blue screen.
That's pretty bold.
The acting's better, the dialogue's better, but there's just so many terrible choices that make no sense that I think ruined what could have been a really great trilogy, a better trilogy. So I'd probably give The Last Jedi like a 4, 3.5, 4. It's just not good. There's just terrible, and we can talk more about why it wasn't good.
Yeah, that might be a discussion for another day for sure. Because it's definitely, especially on the internet right now, it's totally brought that whole debate back up.
The characters were terrible. It ruined some things like in the universe. And Luke was a bad character.
And today we're seeing so much of a divide when it comes to people on the internet. Like as if the country wasn't divided enough.
You didn't like Last Jedi because you're a Democrat.
No, Democrats love Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But the idea there is that it's just like so many people that didn't like The Last Jedi first liked Rise of Skywalker, and so many people that liked Rise of Skywalker didn't like Last Jedi. I sort of sit in the middle.
Yeah.
I think I really liked a lot of the design choices, I thought all the planets were really cool. Like people talk a lot of shit on that one planet, with the casino.
Yeah.
Oh, the planet was cool, but the story was awful, man.
Yeah, there's the thing. Like I liked that world. I like what they brought into the world. I liked.
Did you know that's a Spaceballs joke, by the way?
What joke?
That like in Spaceballs that literally happens where they get their like ship towed.
Oh,
right? It's just a bad joke.
Okay.
So with that, in your opinion, what would you rate it? So
I think I would rate The Last Jedi like a 5. Like to me, it is just a very mediocre movie. Like it's
so you're just saying it's average.
So yeah, I'm pretty much saying it's right. It's smack dead in the middle. So like there was things obviously that I enjoyed in that movie, but overall, I don't want to rewatch that movie. The other night we rewatched it to prepare for The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. And I just fell asleep. Like I woke up a couple of times. I'm like, there's nothing here that's really interesting me. The first time I watched it, I enjoyed it, but like it really didn't pull me in anymore to watch it again. But at the same time, I didn't hate that movie like so many people on the internet I think did.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that actually, because it's the problem that I think really centered around The Last Jedi was because Rian Johnson is a phenomenal director. I actually love a ton of his work, but it didn't really fit for a Star Wars film, especially one that's in the middle of a planned trilogy. And I use "planned" with air quotes because it wasn't really planned at all.
Exactly.
And it's interesting what you said is there's pretty much no point in rewatching it now because none of the stuff that happened in it was really in Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Yeah.
Like other than maybe some key characters and details, you could almost just skip that whole movie.
Yeah. If you took that movie out, like when you watch Rise of Skywalker, there'd only be this whole and spoilers on Last Jedi. If at this point you really haven't seen,
Last Jedi,
you're probably not going to go watch it. After our reviews, you're not going to go watch it.
But the whole. What I'm saying is, if you start the Rise of Skywalker, the only information that would need to be told to you is Luke dies.
Yep.
Snoke dies. Yeah. And Rose is a person.
Yep. Pretty much.
Well, I think too, like, right. Last Jedi had so many. I think it had a lot of issues on the storytelling end. But I think a big thing with Last Jedi, this is kind of intangible, but it just didn't. After watching, and I've watched these all in the last week or so. Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. It doesn't even have the same spirit as those movies. It seems really like negative. Like Empire was
like darker.
Empire was darker, right? But it wasn't just darker for the sake of being darker. It had a story and it still had a lot of heart, right? You still like cared about the characters and they were on this journey. They didn't make terribly dumb decisions and you cared. And
yeah, because they're all positive. At no point does anyone give up, or at no point does anyone feel like
there's no hope.
They made the wrong decision. No, everyone's still trying, but the situation is so bleak.
Yeah, and it's a darker movie, and I actually watched it today. It's not crazy dark. Today? Empire.
Oh, okay, Empire.
It's not crazy dark, but it is dark compared to the rest of the movies. But it's not super bleak. Like there's weird, like Last Jedi has some weird, like almost like nihilist stuff. Like when Luke says like he basically just gives up on Kylo Ren. It was so like not Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's so against the theme of all of the Star Wars movies.
And that's what honestly kind of centered down to me is because this movie was so backwards with all of its themes and messages. Not just in a sense of Star Wars, but like what it was trying to convey. Like the whole idea of like, oh, you know, heroes shouldn't try to sacrifice themselves valiantly.
But
so they could live to find exactly. That's what I'm saying. So they could live to fight another day. But then literally like 10 minutes before, the sacrifice was like the number one thing that saved everybody else. And it was okay.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to bring in the politics on it because honestly,
all the social justice stuff, it just
I think that's honestly, it is, but I also think it's kind of bullcrap, and I wouldn't let it really.
I watch a lot of movies.
I don't let stuff like that ruin my experience.
I don't either, but it just didn't have a place.
Yeah,
it just didn't fit, and it was forced. And Rian Johnson talks a lot about like I'm going to subvert your expectations and do something you don't expect or you don't think is going to happen, but I just don't think that's. I think we're okay with predictable storylines generally.
And that's honestly,
I think we just want to care about the characters and feel good when we watch it.
Yeah. And that's what's interesting. Sorry, Jake. I just want to finish up. Yeah. Is if I were to sum up Last Jedi, it would be subverted my expectations in a horrible way.
Exactly.
Like the worst possible way. And honestly, with that, I'd probably give it a 4 or 5.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jake?
A big part of it is the entire movie. I'd say its biggest strength is the relationship between Kylo Ren and Rey.
Yeah. That is something that was presented in that movie that they were able to play with in the next one.
The throne room scene was great. I'll give Ryan. And like I said, Junior, you're right. There's a lot of things about that movie that are still okay. It kind of introduces the idea that Obi-Wan said, like, if you strike me down, I'll be more powerful than you can imagine, right? Like Jedis can still be powerful after they die.
Oh yeah,
it kind of introduces
and the idea of like the Force. I heard someone use a word for it like Force texting or like Force
Force FaceTime.
Yeah, like this like
SMS.
Yeah, some I can't. They use an acronym for it, but just this idea that like you can talk to other people through the Force at a distance, and then sometimes things can transfer through that. Mm-hmm. They definitely played out into that in Rise of Skywalker in a cool way, and that's something that they got directly from that movie that they're able to play with in the future.
And it is funny because, like I said, I do like Rian Johnson. Knives Out was awesome.
Yeah, and I like Knives Out. I watched that this week.
It's so good. Because it subverts your expectations, but in the best way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If Last Jedi wasn't the middle of a trilogy in the new Star Wars franchise, but even if it was like a side movie,
if it had been
Star Wars,
if that was the Boba Fett movie, or if that'd be awesome. The Han Solo sequel, or just if that was something in there that.
Yeah. I think we need to not blame just Rian Johnson, though.
That's true.
I think Kathleen Kennedy's to blame. I think some of the production companies to blame.
And I think one of the reasons why Rian Johnson was able to have so much ability with what happened in that movie, because we've seen Disney, how they do productions when it comes to Marvel and when it comes to other Disney properties. They like to have their hands around it, and they want a lot of control. Also, they try to find directors that they can trust. and especially directors that the executives can trust. Kathleen Kennedy and everyone on the Disney board, Bob Iger. And I think the pitch there was Rian Johnson's like, I can make a Star Wars movie that will leave things open to make more Star Wars movies in the future.
That's true.
Because he made a Star Wars movie that was so different from the general Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
The idea was there was Force Awakens was going to be the classic Star Wars story, like very much based off and drawing on the original themes of Star Wars.
Like you wanted
and then
to shake
the Last Jedi was going to get rid of those tropes, and then Rise of Skywalker would have been just completely in a different length than what Star Wars usually is.
I get that. And
that would have left Disney super open to continue to make Star Wars movies until the end of time. They wouldn't be locked into this this hero's journey sort of storytelling type that you see in all the other Star Wars movies, because that's what they're doing with Marvel. Like, I mean, I think the best Marvel MCU movie was The Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And the Winter Soldier, and the Winter Soldier, it's exactly that for the Marvel universe. We have sort of a trope that's carried through in all these Marvel movies so far, and we're just going to do something completely different.
Yeah. Those movies, the Marvel movies, though, even though they're in a big universe, they're making a lot of them. You know, they made 10 in a decade, or a lot more than 10 in a
23.
decade. Yeah. They even though those movies, way more than 10. Even though those movies are part of a general universe, they have the ability and kind of I guess that they're able to not have to launch somewhere. Like Winter Soldier is technically like in a trilogy of Captain America's, but like it's also, and it's in a bigger universe, but like so many of those movies exist where it's like you don't even need to see all those movies to understand.
And I think so many people in the world have not seen all of them.
I haven't seen every single one. I haven't seen a couple of the Ant-Mans and stuff, but I totally understood Endgame and probably had the same emotional resonance, right? But Star Wars, like in the middle of a trilogy, the thing of that Last Jedi is that it felt like a side story, but it also felt like there was nowhere to go after it. So that's when and as we talk about Rise of Skywalker, we'll talk about what I think the weaknesses of it are. And I think they're all Last Jedi weaknesses. Like, because there's nowhere to go after Last Jedi. Like, Luke dies, the rebellion kind of is saved, but then now there's just like a few of them left. But like, we don't know what's going to happen next. The characters, like, nothing new is going on with Rey and Kylo. Now they're like, with Rey and Kylo, they're still enemies. They teamed up and it was like, what's gonna happen here? And he offers her his hand, and then it just ends the same as it started, where she's still like, I'm not gonna join you, and he's still like evil. So there's nowhere to go. There's the launching pad, and it felt like to me it felt like Rian Johnson's like, this is my chance to make a Star Wars movie, and he made a Star Wars movie, tried his best, but it was like he tried too much. Like, in middle trilogy, you had to leave things open. You have to understand, like, you have to plan for the next movie. You need to like plan according to the last movie. Honestly, and he didn't do that. Think about The Dark Knight, where it ends. Dark Knight's a totally concise, awesome story on its own, but it ends totally open. Like, what's going to happen next? It ends with like there's somewhere to go from here. And Empire's the same way. Empire's a great story on its own, but it still ends with like, it ends. What's going to happen?
And
like,
it's interesting too.
They got to go find Han.
A polar opposite ending from The New Hope.
And that's honestly what's so interesting to me is if you really do think about it, like what I thought about this the other day, I went back to like how I was thinking when I saw The Force Awakens. And I was like, I remember at the end of that movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are they going to do with this?
Exactly.
Like all this new like potential. There's all these things that they could pull off and all these plot devices.
That is so true.
And then I sat there after this and we could probably use this to segue into Rise of Skywalker. Because when I finished it, I was like, that's all they did? Like, that's it?
With Last Jedi?
Just Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah, Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, it just felt like, to me, Rise of Skywalker was like, man, imagine if JJ had all three movies.
And they planned it.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker, I mean, Junior, you probably agree too, like, the first 30 minutes of the movie could have been a half of the previous movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Half of a middle trilogy movie.
The beginning of that movie was so fast paced and just
The whole movie was really fast.
I mean, it was. I feel like it slowed down towards the middle a little bit.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I felt like it really kicked up pace.
And it was.
I think this is where we make it clear. Now we're talking about
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, we moved on.
So yeah, and then we'll probably dive into it. But let's first give our scores. So back to Jake.
I'll give it a. Oh man, this is a hard one.
It's hard.
I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay.
Out of. I'll give it an 8.5 out of all movies.
Okay.
I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And out of Star Wars movies, I'd give it a 7 or 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was up there on. It had the spirit of Star Wars. For
Yeah,
sure.
totally. I'll give it like an 8.3, 8.4.
Mm-hmm.
And there's flaws. It's not perfect, but I think it's good enough in its strengths that it makes up for those flaws.
Yeah. I'm gonna be bold here. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Wow.
And here's the thing. I'm gonna see it again on Christmas. And I might change my mind a lot.
I saw it again last night, and my score went up.
But even before we delve into talking about things, the reason why I'm giving it that score is because the way that movie made me feel.
Yep, 100%.
That movie made me feel things that I have not felt in a long time watching a movie. my cold, dark heart.
I felt aroused.
When I watched Endgame this year, I did not feel anything.
Yeah.
I almost like the MCU.
In that movie, dude.
I almost like the MCU more than I like Star Wars. Like, you guys know, I'm the biggest MCU fan, and I just wasn't able to feel. I really like that movie, but the emotional points didn't hit me the same way that the emotional points hit me in this one.
Okay.
I agree, 100%.
I can vouch for that. When I looked around, I wasn't crying because it didn't hit me the same in those emotional points. But I looked to the left and I saw some tears coming out of Junior's eyes.
Yeah.
And I looked to the right and I saw some tears coming down from other people.
There was multiple times where I grabbed Nick on the arm and like looked at him and smiled.
Oh, I was smiling so much in that movie, and that's how I know I'm like I smiled a lot watching Far From Home this year. Mm-hmm. I smiled a lot watching this. Like, movies that make me like. I'm sitting there and I notice that I have the biggest grin on my face. That puts the score up so much for me.
Nick, what would you score it?
Well, you guys are gonna hate me.
You asshole. Nah, I'm just kidding.
You complete piece of shit.
You motherfucker.
Because honestly, like, I was happy, but pretty much as soon as I actually thought back on it, that's like the only redeeming quality that it had for me. So I'd probably give it like a 6.5.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair score.
This is where we're gonna differ, because I think
totally, because
the movie doesn't. I think emotion is that's the only quality that matters actually in the long run.
And so this is, if I were to sum up this movie, I would call it a like a fun mess.
Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing a lot.
It's a fun mess. And like, that's great, because like if it's a movie you just want to shut your brain off, take your family or your friends to go see it, then yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It made me. I don't know if it's because it still made me think a lot. And there's a lot of cool symbols.
I've been hearing a lot of comparison for this movie and the Fast and Furious franchise, and I'm telling you, no way.
That, like, I mean, Vin Diesel's in Fast and Furious. We're not gonna even. I don't even want to go into that.
Those movies. They're fun. I watch every single Fast and Furious movie, and I like every single Fast and Furious movie, but they are complete pieces of trash. And I don't think this movie. I don't think the Skywalker is a trash.
This movie's not a piece of trash, and that's with me giving it a 6.5.
I think I need a third rating for this as a Band-Aid. What does it rate as a Band-Aid? Because this movie has a Band-Aid.
That's true.
Episode 8.
Yeah.
I would rank it as a 10 out of 10.
You're right.
Because it was...
It almost fixed every problem.
Okay, yeah,
Give
honestly,
Luke a redemption.
We need to talk about that real quick. Honestly, in that sense, J.J. Abrams deserves like an award or something. How did he like? We're obviously not going to go into spoilers right now, movie, but yeah, how did he manage to get out of how The Last Jedi ended?
Oh, he pulled it off so well. I
felt like Palpatine was just like, what are we gonna do? They killed Snoke for no reason.
Yeah,
we're gonna throw him in. You're right. Like
and there was sort of this like they ended the Last Jedi with this, like Kylo's the main bad guy, but also like. Mm-hmm. Like, how are you going to make a...
What's the big arc?
Yeah. Like,
it's like, to me, as soon as I saw Snoke die, I'm like, where's the next arc?
I guess you could have made a movie where Kylo Ren really is the big bad the whole time.
That would be boring as hell.
And then it's Rey and Kylo, like, their conflict's still going on. And, like, Rey, like, flirting with the dark side. And Kylo's just being the bad guy, but at a clear moment, like during their last fight, something happens and he turns good, and it has a very Disney ending where it's just like, okay, the main bad, he's good, no one dies. Like it's like
it is a very good ending, and we'll probably talk about this more in spoilers, but there were just some things that happened during the movie that
have we not spoiled it a little bit? Like,
I mean,
I think at this point it's spoiled. Like,
I don't know. I mean, everyone knew about Palpatine.
Let's complete. Yeah, because Palpatine, I don't.
That's in the scroll.
It's in the scroll. Yeah. I went to work that day and I was like, some people were like, "Oh, can you tell me a little about it without spoiling?" I'm like, "Well, I just got to tell there's Palpatine in it, and that's not a spoiler. You'll find that out in the first few seconds of the movie.
Literally, like the first scene. It's like,
oh yeah, I don't know what I was doing, but I did not read that.
Yeah,
you didn't read the crawl?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, you were taking a video. You were taking a video on Instagram.
Yeah, I had to let all my followers know that I was seeing the movie.
But no, wait, let me finish my thought.
The dead speak.
The dead speak.
I need to go back and read that.
Legit, like, there were just a lot of things that happened in this movie that got me butthurt. Really? And I'll talk about them in spoilers.
Okay. See where I think the weakness is. Let's just start at the beginning of the movie.
Hey, let's everyone just sort of give a consensus before we go into spoilers. Yeah. Just so if anyone wants to dip out, they can.
Fun mess. Fun mess. 6.5 out of 10.
He wrote a review.
Ooh,
an actual.
I like that.
Did you read it?
No.
Yeah, he put it in the group chat.
I sent it to you douchebag. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
We should have a blog, dude. We'd all blog together.
I wrote. This is my consensus. Is I won't forget the feeling of childlike wonder I had when race. Ooh. I almost spoiled it.
He's a lesbian.
I won't forget the childlike wonder when I saw those lesbians kiss on screen. No, I said I won't forget the feeling of childlike wonder I had watching this movie, and I hope I can capture that feeling on screen someday. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what comes down to is it made me feel great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Me personally, I think there were some messy elements, but at the pace that this movie takes, you enjoy every moment. You go all the way through. Just if you try to linger on any of the deep story elements, you're gonna start losing track of what is even going on.
Yeah,
because the movie moves so fast. No one sits down. Everyone's running. It's moving so quick, and it's a tactic. They're trying to make you forget about these quasi plot holes. I think more than anything is just a wound healing type of keying into something else that happens in the movie.
Yeah, this is also the type of
it's healing a lot of wounds that makes the plot move forward. But when you really look at it, it is a plot that's very simple, and people they're really bagging on some of those plot points. But if you look down to what it is in its deepest form, it is a very simple story, one that's very similar to, I'd say, Mad Max Fury Road, which is one of my favorite movies. The Last Crusade, which is one of my favorite movies, where it really is a group of people go from this point to this point to this point, so they can get to
save the day.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. This is the kind of movie where you can't just go and get popcorn. Like, you can't go get that free refill on your popcorn.
Oh yeah, I had to pee.
It might be the fastest.
Halfway through the movie, I had to pee so bad, but I was like, okay, I'll wait for sort of a lull. No lull.
There's no 30-minute casino scene.
See, and here, I kind of want to go back to what you were saying and I do agree that it does have that sense, but the biggest difference to me is I feel like there were too many contrivances with what they used to keep them going forward at that breakneck pace that legit to me it doesn't like there, especially one specific part that I'll talk about that to me was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I was literally laughing when I saw it happen. But yeah, like just to sum it up for me, fun mess.
I know which one. I know the thing you're talking about.
Great.
Okay. Jake, did you have anything else to say?
I was wondering how long The Rise of Skywalker was, and it's 2 hours and 22 minutes long.
It didn't feel that long, and I watched it twice, and it felt shorter the second time.
It's just so,
they could have gone for another
high-paced.
40 minutes. Also,
It could have, but I
do feel like there were some scenes cut out. I want to say that. I feel like there were some scenes that were totally cut.
For sure.
I would say, looking back at that movie, it's really fast, especially the first 30 minutes. It's going.
Oh, I want to see the Lord of the Rings extended cut of this movie.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the Disney Plus edition when it actually comes out.
It's moving so fast. But I thought back on the movie and then I watched it again. There's not a single scene I would throw away.
Yeah.
There's not a single scene where I went, this scene's boring or this scene is useless. And there's not even a single scene where I thought, I'm not enjoying this scene. They're all entertaining. They're all feeding into our characters. And I think that comes down to we just stick with the characters we like. Last Jedi had long scenes with characters we didn't know Rose. There was nothing about Rose's character that made me want to cheer for her. It wasn't like she wasn't written very well. I didn't think she was acted very well. And I think in this movie, JJ cuts off the fat and we just get to hang out with Poe and Finn, Chewbacca, C-3PO, Rey, and Kylo. Those are the people we like. He cuts off the fat and it's that's offensive.
No, I'm totally kidding. I think she's actually.
But you know what I mean. He cuts out the fat. And I think
nothing against the actress. I'm sure she's a fine woman.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. But I just didn't think she was great in that movie. I think that character's poorly written. And I think he cuts off all these things. He cuts off extra characters we don't really need. And then the extra characters he does throw in, they're fun and they're barely in it and they help the resistance or whatever. And it's fun. And I think in that case, we get to hang out with the characters we like, and that's what makes us love Star Wars. Yeah. That's, I think, one of the movie's great strengths is it never feels boring or feels like I'm not into this anymore.
All right. Well, we're going into the spoiler section now.
I think we're fully spoiling it.
My cheeks are sore.
My ass cheeks are sore.
My asshole is sore.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going to start by saying...
The dead walk. The dead Steve. The dead walk.
The dead walk. They're called the Walking Dead.
All right, can we talk about Puppet Power? What is it?
Bubble freak.
Bubble freak.
Bubble freak.
Join is ready.
It took me so long to realize he's speaking broken English because that's how freaking funny.
Oh man, so we have a friend, a good friend that watched the movie with us. We tried to get him here, but he's just not answering the phone. He served a ecclesiastical.
He spent a couple years living in Russia.
He lived in Russia.
He lived in Russia for 2 years, and while he was there, I mean, he speaks great Russian. Most people, they can spend 2 years in a different country and not learn that much. Yeah. He speaks really good Russian, and the whole time he's like, so this little mother freaker, he's speaking Russian. He's speaking he'll throw in Russian words here and there. He's throwing in English. I'm sure he threw in maybe a couple other languages. But oh man, that Babu Freak is my baby Yoda.
Meth head baby Yoda, dude. That's what I called him.
I think it's so great that Star Wars can come up with those sort of characters where we have. Are you taking a video of me?
I'm taking a picture.
Oh,
you look cute.
Yeah, you just look so cute right now.
Okay, thanks, guys.
And I mean, when we were talking about spoilers, we talked about cute butts too.
Okay, let's rank the butts in this movie. Number 1, Poe Dameron.
Number 1. Okay, Oscar Isaac is such a beautiful man.
Oh, he's a great actor.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
Though Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse.
Is he in that movie?
Terrible.
Oh, is he bad?
Yeah,
Is his character bad?
It's just a bad character. They put a lot of prosthetic makeup on him. He doesn't. He just doesn't. No, he's not a good.
Well, okay. I also watched this other movie on Netflix that he's in. It's he's
Inside Llewyn Davis.
No. He's with Ben Affleck and Pedro Pascal, and it's like this military type thing that they do where they try to rub the cartel. It was really bad.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But he's cool.
He's Latino, right?
Yeah, he's Latino. He's Latino.
But the first thing I want to talk about this movie, if you really didn't like The Last Jedi, you'll definitely like this movie better because literally everything that The Last Jedi did, he threw out the window. Even
down to like Holdo, like
it was so
where, like the idea that a ship could just blow up other ships by going into hyperspace in front of them.
Let's get into something. So Holdo, there's a whole scene that just calls out like
where they say like that's a literally shot. You could never do it.
You could never do that again. And that's not even really a spoiler though, but it's just like it is something that's like.
Rose has 4 lines.
Yeah.
Like literally I counted last night. I think it's literally 4 lines.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Like, you can tell that J.J. Abrams just was not a fan at all because there's literally like 2 or 3 elements he actually plays on.
Oh, yeah. And that scene.
And he chooses the right elements to play on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's that scene where Rey, she goes back to the planet where Luke was on. And she goes there, she crashes Kylo's ship, she lights it on fire, and she's like, I'm going to do the Luke. I'm going to be the narcissist. I'm going to be on this planet.
And he throws the lightsaber.
And she throws lightsaber in the fire, and Luke, boom.
Luke's Force Ghost catches it.
He's like, don't treat a Jedi weapon like that. Or he says,
this weapon deserves more respect.
Yeah.
He's basically making fun of himself. You could tell Mark Hamill in those scenes that he's in felt like
he was happy.
And I think too, like, I think Last Jedi, a big weakness of Last Jedi was how unfunny it was when it was trying to be funny. It tried to be funny the whole movie, and it maybe made you laugh once or twice. This movie was funny when it was funny.
It was that. It
wasn't trying to be funny too hard the whole movie.
Oh, I laughed so hard.
Well, it's because of what
Babu Freak.
It was funny when it wanted to be funny, and it was dramatic when it wanted to be dramatic. It didn't mix them. Last Jedi kept trying to splice them together. It was just terrible.
And I don't want to go. Yeah, I didn't want to go too far back and backtrack a bit, but it's because The Last Jedi was just so dark, and they tried to interject humor in it, but it was in such weird places. Like
it was like they were trying to write for a Marvel movie.
It was like I was happy. It was reminding me of like Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
just like insanely dark humor, but then they throw in a poop joke after.
Remember when there was the your mom joke at the very beginning?
Yeah.
Like
there was a couple funny there was a funny part that made me laugh when there's the Knights of Ren are in this movie and a stormtrooper sees the Knights of Ren. He goes, Knights of Ren goals. Like that was funny because it wasn't in a dark, but there was like multiple times where like dark stuff was happening or it was heavy stuff, and then like there was jokes in The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
this movie was funny when it was funny.
Like it's not like the scene where maybe we'll get into that later, but the thing I'm super extremely butthurt about are the Knights of Ren. They totally got screwed in this movie. I was waiting for that the entire trilogy.
I think the Knights of Ren, what played disadvantage to the Knights of Ren is Snoke, the Knights of Ren, and everything surrounding Rey's past and the return of Palpatine should have been. I don't know if it was planned from the beginning. Definitely some Knights of Ren, some Knights of Ren stuff. But at one point, I think J.J. Abrams is thinking, okay, so Knights of Ren, Snoke's background, that's all going to be explained in the second movie, right? Nope.
Yeah.
And so in this movie, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff that really Knights of Ren, they aren't that important to the overall storyline. Mm-hmm. They don't have that much connection to what's going on with Rey. Yeah. They don't have that much connection to what's going on with Finn and Poe. And I think they just leave it out. There might, in the extended version, I think there might be a whole scene where the Knights of Ren get a little bit more play, like you might see their faces or a little bit more.
Well, it was just like, to me, it was
the beginning of the movie, the Knights of Ren are in, and I think that we see the end of a sequence at the beginning of the movie that maybe in the extended cut, we see that whole sequence.
Yeah.
Kylo, he goes to this planet trying to find the Wayfinder.
That's another one of those times where it's like you got to fill those things in so quick you have to cut the fat off. We don't need to see them.
So it literally just starts with Kylo finishing off all those guys, and the Knights of Ren is just like, Oh no, there are other stormtroopers just standing around. Were the Knights of Ren in that scene?
Yeah, they were. I think this is another one of those cases.
I said they were in that day.
Well, it was.
They were, yeah. I think this is one of those cases where it's like that weakness is another one that's like kind of attributed to The Last Jedi. Yeah. It's like, what are you supposed to do there? Like, you got to include the Knights of Ren. People are going to be mad if you don't. And you just don't have time to give them scenes because we care only about Kylo and Rey.
Yeah. It's just like, to me, it was weird because they teased them the entire movie. They always show up at like the last minute, right when the heroes leave. They kidnap Chewie. You don't really watch how they do it. Yeah. And then you think that Rey blows up the entire ship with lightning and you think they're all dead. So I was a little butthurt there.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that as ramification.
And then
wait, but that was a different ship.
Yeah, it was a different ship.
I know. So they took it back, saved it. It was fine. Then they tease him like more the rest of the movie, and then at the end they confront Kylo without a lightsaber. He still beats the crap out of him, and then when he gets a lightsaber, he kills him in a flat of 3 minutes.
Yeah, not even. Yeah, you're right. To me though, that's such a small weakness. I don't think that affects the score.
Yeah, that's why I'm just saying I'm butthurt. Because I'm not expecting like this whole lore and backstory behind him, but I wanted a more of a badass fight because these guys are supposed to be like on his level.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Snuggly, the master of the Knights of Ren.
I think this movie did a good job of showing how actually powerful Rey and Kylo are.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Like Kylo, there's this scene when Rey is trying to kill Kylo. She's so mad at him because he crushes the Wayfinder on the Death Star. And I honestly think this is the best scene of the new trilogy. Is on the Death Star, Rey and Kylo. There's a scene where Rey's going at Kylo and he doesn't even pull his lightsaber out for the first like 30 seconds of the fight. Yeah, he's just dodging like a boxer. He's getting swung at in the corner and he's not even getting hit.
Because in the other movies we see when Kylo and Rey fight, Kylo is in a emotional state. Or
Kylo
he is
didn't want
injured.
to kill her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right here we're like, now Kylo's like he's at.
I love that dynamic.
He's in the zone.
I love that dynamic. When he walks through the wave, dude, with his lightsaber, that was so cool. But I love that dynamic where it's like Kylo doesn't want to kill her, and Rey does, and she's got this anger, and that's where I think the theme of the movie is like so cool, and that's why I think this movie is so good. Is I think that the Last Jedi. What is the theme of the Last Jedi? Like. There's no discernible idea that's trying to tell us.
Profiting from war.
Is it trying to tell us that you shouldn't profit from war? Because it's Star Wars. Like, we're not here for the political ramifications of, war profiteering.
Yeah, how about the political ramifications of all the construction?
Is it trying to tell us that women are the only good leaders or something, too? Like, there was no theme. And this movie was busy and it was messy, but I knew what it was trying to tell the audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest thing. And when a movie doesn't know how to do that, it's so weak. But this movie did.
The thing is, and like a lot of my stuff are nitpicks that really drag me down. Because I do agree that the message is really good and it did make me feel. But it's like when I think back to it, I just like, I sit there and I'm like, how on earth did they come up with that? I wish I had a list. And before I preface this, like, I know that not all the Star Wars movies are like airtight plots with no plot holes. But like, even in this sense, it's probably the worst I've ever seen. Like, maybe
really,
like
I don't know. The prequels are really bad.
But think about it. Like, let's go over
the prequels.
Journey.
Cause plot holes, but there's something I'm thinking about today. The prequels. I think the prequel trilogy, it is so good at being a story from like the front and back. It has its arc.
It has a vision.
It knew what it was the whole time. And George, obviously there was like people were angry about the ramifications that caused to the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. But the prequels, they don't like nothing in Revenge of the Sith really messes with what happened in Attack of the Clones, in the Phantom Menace too. Yeah.
No, you're right. Those movies are pretty. There's a pretty clear storyline 1 to 3.
But like, let's think about it. Let's go through the whole story real quick. Like, so it starts off with Finn and Poe going on a mission. Rey's training in the forest.
There's a spy in the First Order. Yeah,
the final order. In the forest.
Yeah. Kylo is tracking down wherever Emperor Palpatine's and he finds him.
Finn and Poe come back. Poe gets mad at Rey because he says she's the best fighter they have, and she wants to train more on the planet, but I don't know exactly what she's learning, especially from Leia, who we do know
what she's learning, though. Because she says, and I noticed this last night, she's saying, be with me, the beginning. Yeah, she's like, I can't figure it out.
She wants to connect to the Jedi.
To the other Jedi. And then that ends up playing at the end. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
But I mean, Poe is right. She's the best fighter that they have.
No, I mean he's right. You gotta be.
Yeah. And then
that's the same as taking Empire.
Yeah, but then they learn that there has to be a. They learn that they have to find the MacGuffin, the Wayfinder.
Yeah, they got to get, because they're going to launch the Sith fleet that Palpatine has is going to launch an attack with the First Order in 16 hours.
Mm-hmm. So it takes them to this planet with the festival going on 42 years.
Lando somehow.
Which did you know that meant because it was 42 years since A New Hope?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I figured that out too.
Coachella sucks this year.
That was actually one of my favorite parts. Coachella. Those dances were so cool.
Oh yeah, apparently I didn't notice this, but I read about it. John Williams is like the composer of the music festivities.
No way.
He's there and that music was made by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I made this quote and Alex made it. Like, Coachella sucks this year.
Coachella sucks this year. Malcolm is showing a picture of.
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
I'll flash, if you send it to me, I can flash it on the screen because I'll just post this on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, so they go to the thing. Rey gets a necklace from this little kid. Kylo and her do their Force FaceTime, and they talk a little bit. And he gets the necklace from her. And then within literally 10 minutes, the Empire is able to deconstruct it and know exactly what kind of wood it was made from what planet on a specific continent. And at this, I know I'm nitpicking at this point, so I'm just going to move on a bit. The dagger, I think, was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, that was...
They were so bad.
The Goonies thing.
The Goonies thing. I was like, that is easily the dumbest thing I have ever seen in a movie.
You're right. And those are weaknesses. Where he pulls out the dagger and it points her to where it is like...
On a freaking decaying ship that's been there for 40 years.
Yeah, it is a little weird, the whole idea that would have been set up. And
not to mention
and made
that the
my question is, who made the dagger that was
exactly this is what I'm thinking about. This
dagger that's the shape of the broken
and they're just standing
and
on
then
that shore.
They go into she crawls into the Death Star, finds the throne room.
I'll say this.
The power is still working because the door opens.
I think she did it with the Force. Here's the thing about this. This is cool though. And Alex pointed this out to me last night. Alex, my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
She crawls out of the pit that Palpatine was thrown down in the Death Star.
That is super interesting.
So that think about that interesting kind of flip side of Palpatine going down and she's rising. So it's the rise of Skywalker.
The rise of Palpatine.
Even though she's Palpatine's granddaughter.
Okay, all right, can we talk about that?
Yeah, what do you guys think about
I think she just
Rey being Palpatine?
She should have just owned the Palpatine thing.
Yeah.
She should have said, I am Rey Palpatine.
Because
the name of the movie is Rise of
Skywalker.
But that could have been about Kylo Ren finally coming to
the movie's about
but he's a solo.
Here's the thing, the theme of the movie is, and it's sad so many times early in the movie and late in the movie, and Luke says it's you can choose who you want to be. That's what
that's what
the original trilogy was about. Luke felt like, I don't have to be like Darth Vader. I don't have to be like my dad. I can be better. I can choose who I want to be. I'm not just a kid from Tatooine.
He's still a Skywalker.
Yeah, but her choosing to be a Skywalker at the end on Tatooine was. But that's the theme of the movie: is you be who you want to be. You're not destined to the mistakes of your father.
Luke chooses to be the son of Anakin Skywalker, not
Darth Vader.
So here's the other thing then with that is. And honestly, I do like the idea. The problem is, why does it have to be Palpatine? Because I'm thinking, when the hell did he conceive a son?
Dude, that was rich shit running.
He was a Senate.
On the low
he lived in Naboo. Naboo is the most romantic planet
but you're also,
in the solar system.
Does the Force then skip a generation, or are you going to tell me that he's had a son who's as powerful as him and Rey for 40 years and nobody's heard about it?
Yeah, but the Force is so ambiguous.
And I want to know. I honestly want to know his story.
Ambiguous.
Yeah, and I think that's something that will be
amphibious.
There are a couple things in this movie that I'm pretty sure they set up so it can be explained in either a novel or a comic book or maybe even in future films.
Because I don't if she was I don't know, a Dooku or something, or
no one likes Count Dooku. He's the most
Palpatine. Come on.
I know they had to do that because Snoke was killed in the last movie, and it just felt like thrown together. But like, that's the best choice I think they could have gone with for her ancestry, for to throw that, to give us that idea.
Because
honestly,
like,
I don't.
What I wanted it
that
to be from
was a president, emperor of the world, and he was a Sith. He's not following Jedi rules. He was getting dome all the time.
There was so many chicks.
Bitches will do anything for money, bro.
And also, I'm just kidding. The first time we meet him, he's 50. We're supposed to assume that like his whole life before that, he wasn't just happy.
Yeah, but Ray, that timeline he would have had to have her during his time in the Empire.
Yeah.
As the emperor.
Not him, no, but his son, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, no, duh.
But he would have had to have he could have had his son. And like, obviously it showed her parents, and they don't look that old, but like, his dad could have been born like Phantom Menace time.
Yeah.
I think this was a thing. Like Palpatine was on a business trip, got a little too drunk.
Hey, Palpatine
got with like one of the locals. Next thing you know, like 20 years later, 30 years later,
she's coming for that alimony.
It's a total Game of Thrones. Yeah,
she sees that he's the emperor. She's like, hey. I have your child. They go on Mari. It's a whole thing.
See, to me, I feel like maybe
he's just tying up loose ends.
This is my opinion. What if I feel like it would have been easier to explain if maybe Palpatine didn't know.
Yeah.
She's just like a bastard child or something, you know?
Oh, yeah. But
you're right.
I think...
Because to me, it's there's no way that, for 50 years, he's known about his son.
And I think he saw that... Well, I think he saw the opportunity. Obviously... It shows that she's going to kill him, and he's like... It's some Sith thing where if she kills him, he's going to go into her.
Yeah, which is super...
No, if you think about it, what I think would be really awesome if they explored a little bit more is that she does end up killing Palpatine. So, does that mean she's got all the Jedi and all the Sith in her? So that would be cool.
Yeah. There's something I have to say there, but we'll get back to it. But please remind me.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Rey's parents, with her lineage, there'll probably be a comic that will explain. And I'm not saying that I have any authority on this, but man, it's gonna be what it's gonna be is. Palpatine did not know about his son. He wasn't an illegitimate child. Did not know about his son. And by the time he found out about his son was already in adulthood, had a wife, and had a child. At this point, he can't train his son. He comes into contact with his son, and his son's like, no, I do not want to be I don't want anything from you. He's probably raised by other people. They don't have anything to do with you, Emperor.
I don't want your death stinks.
He's like, come home or you're grounded. I don't want your death stinks.
And then, so Palpatine takes advantage of the fact that there is a daughter,
Yeah. I just to me, it felt really kind of contrived. But anyways,
well, it is in all sense of the word. It is contrived by having to fix the fact that
the big villains.
There is no big villain, and also Rey's lineage is so key to.
And that actually does make sense.
From the beginning of the franchise, Rey's lineage is so important, and that's from the first trailer. Everyone was like, okay. From when the information leaks came out that the main characters' names were going to be Poe, Finn, and Rey. People were like, Finn what? Poe what? And Rey what?
Yeah. But no, the other thing that's interesting, exactly. Even in that sense, that is a little bit fixing the Last Jedi too. Because if you remember in the Last Jedi, they played it off oh, you're just the daughter of a Joker. You don't matter. And then that was another theme that's nobody's can be important.
Yeah, and that you're right. Nobody's can be important. And I think that still could have worked. That's another one of those things.
I'm not saying that it worked better. I'm not at all. No, I'm saying that maybe that's kind of why it felt really. But it would have
been sad for this Star Wars legacy, which really Star Wars
is about the Skywalker.
It's a family story.
Yeah.
I'm sort of sad that we never got any fruition in the Kenobi family. Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah. The old Ben was only in the New Hope alive, but he's still so important, and the prequels made him important.
You're right.
The other thing that I want to talk about first, I want to say a known fact I found out is the voice of Babu Frik is Moaning Myrtle. in Harry Potter.
That's sort of funny.
Isn't that weird?
Totally weird.
I
I thought it was like some producer's kid.
No, I did too. So the other thing,
He's a legitimate kid. He out with a Russian lady.
meth head. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and here's my thought: if they had taken that first like 30 to 45 minutes and made that the last half of The Last Jedi, then I feel like it would have been cool if they fleshed out the climax of that movie more.
You're right.
I wanted more of good. Kylo.
I did too.
I actually love the scene where he meets Han again.
Oh, I did.
And
People are making fun of that scene. I thought that was moving.
I loved it, and because it was an exact juxtaposition of the very first time
You pointed
they
that
do
out
it
to me.
again.
Yeah, no,
When he walks up to him and he says, "Come home," and he says, "I don't know if I'm strong enough." That's literally.
and
he throws
I've
the
seen people
device.
talking about because people are like, "Oh, so Han can be a Force ghost?" Like, it's not a Force ghost. It's a memory.
He's got like PTSD from his mistakes.
And the fact there is Han doesn't say anything in that confrontation that like he didn't say in the first. And I'm not 100% sure.
Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's word line for
But you
line.
can make up memories in your head, and the whole idea that Kylo Ren was kind of scarred from the mistake.
and they did it on purpose.
You're right, and the whole idea that Kylo's kind of scarred from the mistake he made, and that scene is so good too because right before that, when Leia uses the Force to kind of project herself into Ren's mind and say like Ben, and at the same moment, Rey is so angry she kills Kylo Ren when he's like not even trying to fight her anymore because he's like hearing his mom. In that same exact moment, Rey realizes that she could be evil, that she has those propensities in her. And at that same moment, Ben realizes that he's actually good. He's not as evil as he wants to be. And I think that was such a beautiful scene. And that scene was so cool. And imagine if that would have been teased more for a whole nother movie. Unless The Last Jedi made so many mistakes. Also, imagine how good The Last Jedi could have been. And we could stick with the Palpatine thing and it would still work well. Imagine how good the Palpatine thing would have been if at the very end of Last Jedi, they get that transmission they talk about.
Yeah.
And you hear just him saying like
what it comes
revenge, and he's like,
and
that would so right because now you've been like, oh my gosh, is Palpatine back for 2 years? And you've been like, now we have somewhere to go. There's a launching pad. They don't have to jump in and go.
And we could have had an Empire Strikes Back middle of the trilogy reveal.
Feeling, yes.
Where I am your grandfather.
Yeah, exactly.
I am your grandpappy.
It's treason then.
Su abuelo.
The other thing I would love if Rey tried adopting like the fencing saber style that freaking Palpatine uses.
She does do that though in the Force Awakens. I watched a video some guy released like 3 years ago saying he thinks that Palpatine's granddaughter is Rey.
Yeah.
That guy should go try the lottery. But, and there's like multiple times where she does the same thrusting style.
Yeah, and obviously her style changes a little bit because she's being trained by Luke and trained by Leia. But that scene was so cool. But I genuinely think there is a cut of that scene somewhere with Duel of the Fates playing, because oh my god, the second that movie comes out in any like digital form, I'm going to recut that scene to play Duel of Fates, because yes, it's a prequel thing. But this movie is all about legacy, not just the originals, but to the prequels.
I think
that would have been the voices of the Jedi.
That would have been so cool.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but honestly, I think we're to a point that the prequels, sure, they were bad, but I mean,
this movie made the prequels better, in my opinion.
They're there, and honestly, I think people kind of appreciate them. Like, sure, Phantom Menace was still a crapshoot right up until the duel at the end, which is one of the best ones in the whole franchise. But you appreciate the prequels now for what they are.
Yeah.
I think totally.
Because you saw what happened with a just disjointed, not one mind, weird trilogy.
And like,
because I'm willing to say that the prequel trilogy is better than the sequel trilogy.
Ooh,
it's bold. But I'm kind of with you. I think that's because you and I are kind of prequel fanboys.
I love the prequels.
And here's what's so good. I want to bring this up real quick.
But they're just. They're terrible movies.
They are. But wait, I just want to talk about. I feel like the thing that helped us come to an appreciation is because when you see throwbacks for the prequels, you're like, hell yeah, you know, you're stoked.
Like when there was that
there's some good stuff.
There's that fat slug monster in the Millennium Falcon in the beginning. Think how cool that would have been, because it's just like some random monster.
Yeah.
Think how cool that would have been if it was a Gungan. Like,
oh yeah, right.
It's just like,
or like freaking with
it's a Misa Jaja.
Or even like when she like is getting help from all the forests, and you hear people from the prequels, and you're like, oh, yes,
yeah.
Well, that's what that was so rad hearing Qui-Gon Jinn, Ben Kenobi,
Mace Windu.
Like that was so rad hearing all those voices, and then Hayden Christensen. That was so cool, and maybe that's where the movie came together. And the whole movie, I was thinking, this is really fun. I'm really liking it, but when am I going to go? This movie sucks. Like I felt like it was happening. It was going to hit a wall, and then that moment happened where she's saying, "Be with me," and she's asking the Jedi to come to her, and you hear all the Jedi, and it was like my childhood. My like young adulthood and who I am now all came together, and then she beat Palpatine, and you heard all those voices. You heard Hayden Christensen, and you heard Samuel L. Jackson and Qui-Gon Jinn, and I literally remember going like, "This is it. I like this movie." I remember thought to myself, I like the movie.
Yeah,
so also Ahsoka.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
Ahsoka's there.
I noticed that the second time.
There's one other female Jedi. I think they tried to make an even amount of female and male Jedi voices.
That's what's so cool. I heard all those voices from my childhood.
They had Kanan from the Star Wars video games.
Yeah.
From like those old Jedi. I forget what those.
People might say it was just a nostalgia thing, and maybe it was, but that moment where she has all the Jedi in her, and literally like it encapsulated. I was like, okay, now I know that I'm going to leave.
Well, it's one of those. It's because it's one of those moments that is a payoff for fans. Because if you think about it, that's not in there before. Like if you look at Endgame, you know, obviously it's for everybody who watched all the movies, and you don't have that in Star Wars up till that moment.
Yeah, you don't.
Where it pays fans off.
That's where Rian Johnson. That's where that movie feels like there's no heart in it, because he didn't feel like he actually cared about the fans or cared about the movie. Like I don't know. There's an interesting. I have this friend.
I also want to just back up for a quick second and talk about. I was also a little pissed that the fight with Sith Rey was really short.
It wasn't even. Yeah, it was like 4.
Because I feel like that would have been way cool. You know, and like obviously it'd be kind of hard to do like some way where she is a Sith for a little bit in the movie, but I don't know. I just wanted to see more of Sith Rey. I feel like that would have been interesting.
Like that one vision she had where there was Sith, and she sort of
Yeah, that could have been interesting. And that's where you were right. You knew that was going to be some vision or dream.
And that's where I also feel like maybe that was also a scene that was cut out a bit, because that fight was so short.
It was barely even a fight. I didn't even. My mind hasn't gone back to that scene at all, really.
Yeah.
Well, I think that.
But going back to what we're talking about, like I said, the climax. I wanted more of good Kylo for sure.
Yeah,
I would love a good scene where it's kind of like Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where maybe he meets the crew before they go in battle, and then because like you remember
like he's on our side now.
Yeah, like you remember that cool scene when Zuko meets Sokka and like Toph and Katara.
That could have been.
And they're all like, "Wait, what?"
They're all defensive. They're like, "Oh, what?"
I can imagine Poe going, "Wait, he's on our side now," and she's like, "Yeah," and Finn going, "This is a joke, right?"
Yeah, exactly.
That could have been fun.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
I would have.
I also like that it was maybe a really personal moment between her and him.
And also, he doesn't speak a word after he becomes good.
No, he says the last word.
The only word he says is
ouch.
Ouch.
That was the best joke of the whole movie.
Ow.
And but it shows some humanity to him. You're like, okay,
and that's why I wanted to see more of it.
Because
but you know what? I think sometimes in a Star Wars movie, what's left undone is think about how awesome. Like people didn't know for 25 years who the Emperor was or how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. But like, and then when the prequels got made, people were disappointed by those.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's better left undone.
Yeah.
The other thing, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the other thing I just felt like the other thing that would be really cool if they'd spent like 10 minutes somehow doing it is I wanted Rey to use her own lightsaber in the climax.
Oh yeah, that would have been it. They show off her lightsaber at the very end just to be like
kind of cool that it's both Skywalkers though too.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Yeah,
like I just thought that would have been.
What about the color of her lightsaber though?
It was awesome. No one has a freaking orange lightsaber till now.
Something that I was kind of disappointed about with the film that really J.J. Abrams gave us expectations with was I mean, when he talked about lesbians, like everyone was thinking Rey. Like I was looking for Rey to have like a lesbian scene.
Did he talk about lesbian? Did you hear something?
I got a cousin.
I remember an interview where he talked about inclusivity, though.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm not going to say much about it, but there's going to be a lesbian scene." And I was like,
I changed my rating. 6.5. What am I, stupid?
What did you guys think of Rey and Kylo kissing?
Oh,
some people are mad about it.
I liked it, but it's interesting because to me it wasn't like a "I love you" kiss.
Nope.
It was like, I don't know how to explain.
You're right.
Like
not every kiss.
I'm not a fan of Reylo or whatever.
I was never a shipper.
I was, dude. I freaking love it. They had so
Your
much
sister
tension.
totally is.
Totally.
They're both so hot. But here's the thing about those guys. They're both so attractive in different ways. Like they're not people you would look at and go, "Oh my gosh, that person's so attractive. I'd never have." Rey's the kind of girl, like I feel like if I met Daisy Ridley on the street, and maybe she wasn't Daisy Ridley, but she was just, if I said something funny, I might have a shot. Right? I don't feel like I would have that chance with any other hot, like think with with what's her name? Scarlett Johansson. I could say something funny and she'd be like, "Oh, that was funny. Look at that idiot." I had no chance. But if I said something funny to Rey on the street,
yeah,
she might give me a chance. Adam Driver's the same way. It feels like Adam Driver's a really attractive guy, but he's kind of weird looking too. And so they're perfect for each other, man.
Where his face is a little weird. You're like, there's something off there, but I mean, it's attractive.
Yeah. But he's a great actor.
He's good,
also,
man.
Can we talk about how maybe the fact that she also knows how to force feel is because of the passed down lineage from Darth Plagueis?
Oh yeah. So like
I thought that whole thing
at the very I love power. That one of the first things that the Emperor says in this movie is his quote from Revenge of the Sith, where he's like, "The dark side can lead to powers that some would call unnatural."
That's the thing is, I think that that's a Sith. I think that's a Sith power.
Vaccination.
Maybe that's something that Kylo picked up in his time, kind of training to be a Sith, and maybe that's something that Rey. I mean, maybe Kylo didn't totally pick it up, but once he felt like he had it, the Force is so ambiguous, but. And Rey is so powerful. She has that ability. I think it's so cool. Yeah. Also, you haven't seen have you seen this week's Mandalorian yet?
I have.
Someone said that.
I'm gonna say, it's not really a spoiler, but there's one part where
Baby Yoda does in the first episode where he heals the Mandalorian, right?
He tries to. He's trying
that's
to.
Right.
Yeah, he goes up and he's gonna try to heal the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian puts him back in the cage.
That's right.
But
it's not really. Yeah, so it's not really like a spoiler necessarily, but he heals Carl Weathers' character in the first 10 minutes of the episode. And it's cool because that episode, this is something that Star Wars, it felt like, wow, they actually planned something for the first time in their production. But that episode came out 2 days early so that it would come out before the Rise of Skywalker.
So the idea of force healing would be introduced.
I mean, it has been there. Like if you play some of the Star Wars games, in
the Star Wars games, it's always there. But we had never seen it fleshed out in that way. Yeah. And it's not a power that I'm mad. I'm like, ugh.
I know some people are getting really butthurt about it, which I guess, it kind of makes Rey OP now because she just basically can prevent death.
Okay, but can we talk about...
But it takes a lot of energy because, Kylo Ren, he died.
He died doing it, yeah.
Can we talk about how OP Rey is? Because that is some S tier hero.
S tier hero.
She is God tier. She's OP.
There is
even honestly, because she wasn't trained that much for how.
That's what explains how the Palpatine thing does explain. It kind of helps you recompense. It kind of helps you live with her beating Kylo Ren in the Force Awakens.
Yeah. Is that what you wanted me to remind you of? When we kind of backtrack to this part at the end, when she becomes the full Force.
So. A little bit. What I was sort of trying to, let me just try to get my thought together. But in that last scene, I think it would have been so interesting if when Rey, she pushes all the electricity back into him, which first off, so OP because we just watched the Emperor shoot so much electricity out of his hands, and this entire fleet of turn off the electricity.
Can we also
that entire fleet?
Can we talk about that? It literally happened to him. With Mace Windu. Not even whatever.
I heard some people complaining about that. That's a skill that Mace Windu had to learn.
I've heard that Mace Windu is
and he still
practices the neutral part of the Force actually though.
Yeah. That's why it's like
that's some super nerd legend stuff. But I think
that's some deep.
I was thinking about this movie though, and we can go back to just the simpler. Like, there's so many parts of that movie where I just thought, wow, this is just Star Wars. It's just about Star Wars was never about battles or laser swords. Star Wars is about people becoming who they want to be and becoming heroes, and people who are really far gone not having to become too, like, they can always come back. And I noticed this last night when I was watching it. Kylo at one point, he goes like, he feels, it's not that Rey thinks he's too far gone. And this is why the thing with Luke in The Last Jedi kind of sucked, because he's like, no, I'm not going to tell you that you can come back. That's why it's so weird, because that's never been the spirit of Star Wars. Kylo feels like he's too far gone.
Luke's character.
It's so against Luke's character, and it's so against just being a Jedi.
Who literally didn't give up on his father.
Rian Johnson did say something interesting this week, where someone was just like shit talking Rian Johnson like so hard.
Oh, I tweeted at him this week and said, "You suck."
Oh wow, yeah. Nice.
What a legend.
But
what a freaking legend.
But there was someone who was like being like really rude to Rian Johnson online, and he's like, I'm sorry that I wanted to make a hero not just become
relatable,
not get a video game upgrade and that stay with him for the rest.
No, and he's right there, and that's why people got mad that Luke was gonna kill Kylo Ren, and then he felt ashamed and turned his lightsaber off, but it was too late. That part I don't mind, because the thought of him being tempted and almost acting on his anger or his fear, that's okay. But the fact he didn't is what makes Luke, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you have fear and you never have fear. It's that you have fear and you put it away. But it's that Luke says, like, basically, you're too far gone. That's where the character's wrong. That's where it's wrongly written. That's where it screws the whole trilogy up. But
because you can flirt with that idea. You can be like, oh, Luke, he has that battle inside of him, but the fact that he's a hero, the fact that he is the Star Wars hero, and when we talk about like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Rey, Luke is the hero of Star Wars.
Luke is the new hope. He always has hope. They literally called it a new hope because of Luke. Yeah,
even when he does battle with those thoughts and ideas, they could have played into that like maybe he doesn't want Kylo to come back. Maybe he doesn't want to save.
He's just afraid of him, but
it always has. You always have to come back to him believing into it.
The idea is really that what I really liked is that it wasn't that Kylo. And this is why just forget the Luke thing in Last Jedi. But in this movie, it's like it's not that people think Kylo's too far gone. It's that Kylo thinks he's too far gone. Yeah. And that's what I love is that when he realizes that people still believe in him, and that's where like I think critics didn't like this movie because. And the critics didn't like Joker for the same reason. Mm-hmm. I think they didn't like that it's a movie that says you can choose who you want to be and you're not stuck. And I think it's kind of a leftist idea that you're just kind of like, if you're born like this, that's how you are. And sorry, and like that's like this idea that you can't look at evil people with a nuance that maybe they had hard childhoods, or that you can't look at evil people and say let's try to give them a chance to be good. And like the Joker, like people thought it was glorifying evil, but it wasn't. And this movie isn't either. When people say like Kylo Ren's good and now she gives him a kiss, like he's an abuser. But it's like, no, it's this idea that like people can never be too far gone to come back to good. And that's what the message was so like, that's why it gave me chills. That's why I loved about the movie is it made me feel like hope for anyone in the world, for myself.
Yeah. So something that I would have loved, and I heard someone else talk about this in a different podcast, and it got me thinking, the prophecy in Star Wars lore is that a Skywalker that the chosen one will bring the balance to the Force, and the chosen one being Anakin Skywalker, that in the end, by him killing Palpatine, he does bring balance to the Force. We find out that Palpatine doesn't die. So he didn't really bring balance to the Force. So this movie sort of retcons the fact of the prophecy that Anakin Skywalker brings balance to the Force.
Sort of, but that.
But he did kill Palpatine. He did kill him.
But yeah,
he did. He did die. Yoda says to like a prophecy misread, maybe, right?
Yeah, but I think something that would have been super interesting is if when Rey does the whole electricity back at him, he's like, and he like weathers up and he's on the floor at that point. But Rey also falls on the floor at that point.
Hayden Christensen,
not Hayden Christensen,
the legend.
At that point, Ben puts his hand back up, which I thought was awesome. That scared people in the theater. His hand just coming back up.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and before he goes and heals Rey, he goes over and Palpatine's dead body,
he throws him in the pit.
Body is on the floor.
No, don't throw him in the pit. You got to stab him in the heart or something. The pit does not work.
We've learned in Star Wars that the pit does not kill anyone. No one has ever died by falling in the pit, ever.
Yeah.
And it's happened how many times? 5?
5.
And almost in the way that
Boba Fett, Darth Maul,
Emperor,
Obi-Wan,
Asajj
Ventress,
Darth Maul.
I think it happened to Grievous at one point.
Kylo Ren.
Grievous died.
No, Grievous died.
Got shot in the
That's 7 times people got thrown into pits and didn't die, even though everyone thought they were dead.
That's 7 out of 7.
The high ground.
It's sort of just a Star Wars cliche, and Star Wars cliche. I'm gonna get back to that. But
go ahead. What were you saying?
He gets up and he goes over, and before he helps Rey, he goes over to the corpse, and it's almost like in It when the little destroyed corpse looks up at him, and he's like Kylo, and
look how big you've grown.
He's we can he says something to him trying to
beg him or something.
We can order pizza together.
And then Kylo's just boom, and
I'll suck your dick.
He just turns on his lightsaber, and he or he didn't have a lightsaber at that, or I don't know, he picks the lightsaber and he just ends it. He ends him, and then it would be a Skywalker fulfilling the prophecy finally.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, maybe.
And
Anakin
that wouldn't make the weird sort of plot hole where he wanted Rey to kill him, and Rey does kill him.
Well, here's the other weird thing too is
yeah, that's a good point, but he didn't strike her down a sacrificial manner, so I don't know.
The other things that I kind of want to nitpick is this movie was so breakneck because it was trying to do so many things at once that legitimately I feel like Finn kind of takes a back seat.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
Totally does. And it was really interesting because when he runs into Jenna and they talk about how they're all rebelled from the Empire, I would love if they explored a little bit more, maybe gave some actual insight as to what.
Maybe that's the next movie. Because it feels like they were teasing a movie with Lando and her at the end.
I just felt like it was kind of that part was really weird to me though.
You're
right. No, I so uncomfortable
with Lando.
You know what my dream is now?
He's I feel like Lando's
maybe you're my daughter.
I feel like Lando.
Exactly. I was half expecting him to put his hand on her lap and then.
Lando's
come
on,
you trying to I think that's just Billy D. Williams is this lady, she's really sexy. Can we find a way to make a last scene with me and her
making love
in the galaxy? I love
Lando Calrissian cruising the galaxy.
That's why he said he was gender fluid, because he thought they might throw it in.
I know, but
if I'm trans, maybe they'll throw in a sex scene.
Because the 2 new characters they introduced in this movie, absolutely no purpose at all. I feel like they could have completely skipped over them.
Yeah,
I like them though. I like them.
I like them. I didn't like the new characters from the last.
They didn't add anything, but it does show. It is. I think it's sort of JJ showing you can add new characters. Guys, that's something okay to do. Yeah. It's just you have to do it right. I think the girl Poe's sort of girlfriend. She's really interesting. She brings back Babu Frick, which is great. That's
blows up.
That scene
that was so Star Wars when she's like I'm on my way, and she's flying, and then Babu Frick is Rah!
It's hey,
and then C-3PO is that is one of my oldest friends.
Yeah, you want to know the scene that hit me though really really hard was when Chewie found out that all of his friends are dead.
Oh yeah,
and he starts crying.
When he finds out that Leia dies, he just goes down. And
I thought that I looked at Alex last night when I was watching it. It was Chewie's literally watched all of his friends die.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's
300 years old.
He's 200
when he gets the medal though, that touched me though.
Oh, it was. Cool. It made me so happy because I was and I didn't. So someone mentioned this. Someone mentioned this earlier. Leia gives Maz Kanata the medal to give to Chewie earlier, and I hadn't noticed that.
Way to wait till she almost dies though to do it.
And then Maz Kanata goes over, and you're Chewie Maz Kanata.
You mean butthole eyes?
Oh, apparently that wasn't CGI this time. Did you know that?
I did notice that.
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so
She actually had bottle eyes.
yeah.
They ordered 2 actors to stand there and spread their sheets out. and like just
that made me so happy to see Chewie getting the medal, because like that there was no mention of the medal in any of these movies. Like
It's
they
weird
didn't
that
need.
Chewie's the last one alive.
They
out of all
didn't
of them.
need to do it. They did. Oh, I guess Lando. Too,
The other
yeah.
thing,
They didn't need
Lando's
to do
not really.
that, but they did. You know, they're like, okay, guys.
That's where it feels like Rian Johnson wasn't a Star Wars fan. J.J. Abrams, for better or for worse, J.J. Abrams is a Star Wars fan. So he gives us those little things. People say that's just nostalgia, but it's like that fans
That's the
like
point.
that.
It's the reason why people like that game.
It's not even a song. And nostalgia is so cheap to just say that's what it is, because it's not just nostalgia. It's literally part of a 9-movie series. So of course it's going to be calling back to the old things that happened before.
Like,
that's just how stories
Like
work.
think about Return of the Jedi.
That's like saying,
Return
like-
of the King. Like it ends with sort of just being like okay, here's Bilbo again. Like here there is.
So it's
this
not nostalgia to
idea.
throw those things in. And it's not fan service either. It's part of a big story. That's like saying, when is this Jesus guy going to stop doing all this fan service nostalgia by talking about Moses, right? He's got to move on to new stuff. That's like, come on,
The other thing that's interesting is I feel like the new droid was also kind of completely useless.
Oh, yeah.
Other than the fact that he knew about the Sith planet.
Oh,
He didn't
yeah,
do
that's a
anything
good
else.
point. It was kind of cute.
And it was weird that they threw in another
more
droid.
droids. Yeah, because like BB-8, like it was cute in the first movie, but
Real quick, how much you want to bet that they've already made a toy for it?
oh no, there were toys like 2 months ago for everything in this game.
Yeah.
Of course.
But Star Wars, it's still about making
business,
toys. It's
yeah.
a business. Star Wars makes most of its money off.
Although I have a friend. Go ahead, Duke.
Maybe this is kind of like cutting in like random, but going back to that scene where Kylo Ren and like he sees Han Solo again.
Yeah.
I think what's so good about that scene is during that scene you can forget that that 8 happened. That the Last Jedi happened, because it just goes back to 7. And it's like that could be like 2 consecutive movies, and you get to forget about like the middle of the middle freak up, you know?
There's I heard people talking about this. Star Wars, it's always trilogies, but it didn't need to be. Like we could have gotten the Rise of Skywalker or something with a different title, and then one more movie, so that we could have a more
4th
satisfying
movie?
ending. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have. I mean, look, they're going to do another trilogy at some point.
Obviously.
I don't think in this world. Not in the world, yeah. I don't think in this
world.
I don't
On Mars.
Not in this world.
I don't think in the Skywalker saga.
No,
I don't
yeah.
think
No,
Rey's
maybe we're gonna
come
get some
back.
Old Republic thing or something.
I honestly would.
I don't-
freaking love Old Republic.
I wouldn't though, because I know eventually the Old Republic's just gonna die.
Yeah.
But like
I don't
old
know,
enough
maybe.
Republic, you don't
Really old, like go back to do some Darth Nihilus or whatever. Like
That would be so good.
so, I think
I
too.
just
Like
want them to go back to prequel stuff.
I have a friend who
So
wrote a review
bad.
of it. I have a friend who's really kind of an indie. He's like really into indie films, and I am too. I don't know, like, but I love Star Wars. And he was like, "I'm sick of Disney. I'm sick of all these big budget CGI things." And he was like, then he said, "I'm sick of the hero archetype." And I thought to myself, first of all, every movie has a hero. And if it doesn't have a hero, it's probably a dumb movie. And the hero can make mistakes and end up being an anti-hero or end up being bad or whatever. But it's like every movie
It's a protagonist.
we're all heroes in our own lives, of the movies of our own lives. And I thought about this movie and I thought, to sum it up, the way I'd sum it up is like, yes, it feels done before. It feels like it's Return of the Jedi again. It feels like it doesn't feel like totally original. It feels kind of hampered by some mistakes. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's a story that we like, and it's a story that made me feel like the chills and the goosebumps. It's a story about a hero overcoming something hard, overcoming temptations to be evil, and about someone evil overcoming the temptation to be evil and becoming good again, right? And I think that's so universal. That's the oldest story in the book, is the hero story. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so rad. I thought at the end of the day, like, I have a lot of concerns with the movie, but man, it's just good, man.
I think this movie... I think this movie was... Are you finished?
No, yeah, I'm done.
I think this movie was just fantastic for Disney, though, because throughout the entire film, I'm like... Or we've been talking about it. I wish they did something like this. And they're like, and Disney's like, oh, we're gonna do something like this.
Yeah, you're right.
And we're gonna sell it to you.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go big at the box office.
Well, here's
like
what I'm saying.
the Knights of Ren. They could do a movie about the Knights of Ren.
They could.
Well, here's what I'm saying too is it kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier is I just like was remembering my first initial reaction when I saw Force Awakens and I was like, there's like so much story potential here. Like, where is this gonna go? And after finishing Rise of Skywalker, I was like, no, but there was some better. I was like, they could have done different things that would have been better. Like, I was a little disappointed with how it panned out.
The Rise of Skywalker isn't supposed to end making you think, what's going to happen next?
You're right. It's the end of this.
Well, no, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when I finished it, I'm like, that's what they ended up doing.
Yeah, like...
After finishing Force Awakens, like there's so many things they could do and might do.
But that's
after I'm like, that's what they picked.
That's the sake of No,
that's another thing I just want to blame on Last Jedi. We can't
everything. If you get anything from this podcast, blame it on the Last Jedi.
I'm like my rating for Knives Out 2 out of 10 because Last Jedi was the worst.
Yeah, but don't you think that like the Last Jedi sucks my dick?
Wait, what?
I thought you were gonna say something like intellectual.
I think I just found the title of this podcast.
Don't you just think The Last Jedi sucks big dick? Okay, wait, but there.
Oh my!
I sort of want to go back to something we were talking about earlier. The Kylo and the Ben and Rey kiss. The reason why I think it works is I wasn't shipping them at any point in this franchise. Like, and I've heard people about shipping them, and I'd seen like a little bit of hinting that.
I thought you were gonna say you'd seen a little bit of hentai.
A little hentai about.
I'm sure there's drawings, so I am sure there's drawings.
I'm sure there's hentai about this, but when it gets that moment, the reason why it works, Malcolm's dying right now. He is dying right now. You okay, buddy?
Just imagine you looking up drawings of them.
He's just like, oh, I need to research.
I'm deviant art.
Rule 34.
Kylo Ray.
Kylo eats. Clapping cheeks.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
The thing is like, at some point they're aliens, like, and she's from Palpatine. Maybe she's got some weird, like, maybe there's some weird going on with their bodies. We don't know if the dicks in the Star Wars universe are like ours.
Yeah, we haven't seen Star Wars penises.
The Force
Disney,
is
if you're
strong.
listening,
but we have pretty much seen most of the female body in Star Wars. Like Padme wore really revealing clothes.
Yeah, we know that the women don't have penises.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Okay, go back to the kiss, bro.
But,
I'm sorry.
Oh wow, there was just like 2 more things I wanted to talk about. With the kiss, I think it works because of how long they hold that. Because you're like, because I don't think there's a single person in that theater that was caught by surprise.
Yeah.
Because it holds so long that you're like, are they gonna kiss?
Do it.
This is my mind process. Are they gonna kiss? No, they're not gonna kiss. Wait, they're gonna kiss.
Now you're like, are they gonna tongue?
Okay, no, they're not gonna kiss. But if they don't kiss, it's been so long. If they don't kiss, it's gonna be super weird. And then that's when they kiss.
And then they kiss and they're holding for a little bit. And now you're like, okay, are they gonna do tongue?
It would have really hurt.
And then also, can you feel the love?
Let's talk about this then.
Tonight?
What did Finn want to tell Rey?
I think he was gonna tell her that he's force sensitive.
Yeah, and that's
But
one.
like,
that's
isn't
one
it weird that it never came up again ever? I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of times where it feels like
when you rewatched it, did you take that in?
That's what I thought. The first time I thought, oh man, he's gonna tell her I love her. But then the second time I watched it,
and that's what I've been hearing a lot.
There's the second time I watched it. I think the reason he doesn't tell her again is because he ends up telling other people in different ways. When they go, we gotta take that out, and they go, why? And he goes, a feeling. And then he goes, it's on that ship. And they go, why? And he goes, a feeling. And there's a couple more times where he just goes, I just got a feeling about it.
I kind of call bullshit.
And I think he's force sensitive. I think he's force sensitive, and I think that's what he was going to say to her. I really do.
Because
second time watching it, I'm convinced of that.
But look,
it's another of those things. Maybe we'll get a Finn spinoff where he's training as a Jedi or something.
I don't think we are.
No, we're not going to. But fucking let me imagine.
Okay.
This is 2020. We need like we need another Black Jedi.
Yeah, we do.
Bled-eye.
But I think why it is that is because, like, that is Finn's arc. That is Finn's arc. And I think it might have something to do with why those other stormtroopers defected. That there is something innately in being force sensitive that doesn't let you just be a stormtrooper.
Cool. Okay, wait. I wanted to talk about this. This was an idea that I had that I feel like would have been freaking awesome if they pulled it off. So my initial idea that I feel like would have been an awesome fitting end to Finn's arc would be, let's say General Hux doesn't get killed. He doesn't get found out as the mole, right?
Mm.
And so at the end, instead of dying right there by the new general, who I actually really liked.
Yeah, I did too. And he was like, I served you in the old Empire.
Like he was cool.
That was cool.
But let's say later,
like, I served you in the old.
At the final fight, right? When you got the final order and the first order coming together, how cool would it have been if Hux died there? And then Finn comes, he like somehow instead of destroys the bridge, goes on the bridge and talks about how the stormtroopers need to defect. And so they do, and so then you got the first order turning on the final order, and it's like
cool.
a civil war going on.
More death.
That would have been a great end of the arc.
You're right. That's actually a really good point.
That would have been cool.
That would have been.
It was cool for him to feel like he wasn't alone, though, right? Yeah. That's why I thought that new character was great. I thought it was cool for him to feel like
that's what I thought they were gonna go towards when they hinted that. I'm like, oh well, maybe they're gonna show other stormtroopers that they can like defect, and it's gonna be like a civil war.
But no, all the stormtroopers die. So
many people die.
So many people die. I mean, we get back to the clerks, commentary that's like, what about all those just innocent people that were just like doing day jobs, like janitorial work on the. But I didn't hear someone brought up the fact that Palpatine, he sort of just he has the ability to control people's minds to a point, like the way he controlled the Senate, the way that Jar Jar controlled him through.
Oh my god!
But that's sort of his superpower, that he can control large groups of people, and that's why the Empire is so evil. It's because they are being controlled by the Emperor, and when the First Order sort of becomes the final order, that is them giving up all humanity and them just becoming
I want to know what
slaves.
those. I want to know what those things were that were like watching him.
I would love
you see them. You see them.
What if the First Order?
What were they?
I think they are the inhabitants of that planet. They are like the original Sith like race.
I want to say like, how cool would it be if it was the First Order was Order 66? And then you had Order 67, and then the final order.
69.
Execute Order 66. 69.
Next thing you know, you have
all
Rey and another girl.
Hell yeah.
You just sit there, it's like all the ships are firing, then you hear him say that, and all of a sudden they all just stop firing. And then the rebels are like, you're not going to believe what's on the intercoms right now.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
Excellent. Order 69.
Can we get?
We should go around and say
let's see if
our favorite part and our least favorite part.
Okay.
Let's
also. I want to see if our scores change at all after talking about it. I don't think it did.
I think my score's the same, but probably an 8 and 5. All right. What's your favorite part and least favorite part? And
you want to know what? First off, my score went up. I think. I just remembered how many good scenes.
How it made you feel?
Yeah.
At the last scene,
guys and your feelings.
Peace amongst worlds.
When they're playing Binary Sunset, and she's standing with BB-8, and she says Skywalker, and she's looking out and Tatooine.
Skywalker.
How beautiful is that? I had the chills, bro, and I let the theater smiling and happy. If I don't have a good time in the theater, then what the hell am I doing there, man? Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to start off with my least favorite part, which is the length of the final battle, because that's for me what Star Wars. That's
It should have been longer. So
like Revenge of the Sith.
Wait,
that
like
final
longer?
fight
Longer
scene minus the dialogue was the best. Like that was Star Wars for me growing up.
I did want a lightsaber duel, and I know I couldn't have done it with the Emperor, but that's why I'm saying you bring in the Knights of Ren.
I heard someone saying that there were 7 saber duels in this. Is there that many?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Real ones?
Honestly, and in my memory, like 2.
They don't reach the same level as the
prequels duels were cool, but like most of the prequels duels had no emotional attachment. You were just like, oh, look at Yoda doing way too many flips.
I hate sand.
It's coarse. It gets everywhere.
But guys, I just can't get over how badass it would have been if they played Duel of the Fates in that one scene.
Yeah, I think you should.
And they didn't have to play it the whole time. Did you guys see the trailer?
Please pirate it, and then
I'm gonna do it. Did you guys see this trailer that came out this week, like the TV commercial? It plays Duel of the Fates, and that like rolls into the Darth Vader, the Imperial March, which it would have been so. I'm gonna try to rip that version and put it over that scene because.
I think you're right. I think that battle could have been more fun, or
it just a longer climax. I talked about it too. Yeah.
Apple Genie pulls out his little lightsaber, like
it just let me
he goes treason.
I wish I would have heard him say it. I wish I would have heard him say,
I'm the Senate. I am the Sith.
I think it was already like the biggest. It was already big enough fan service that we heard him say the freaking unnatural.
I really wanted him to say unlimited, and he just shocks all this shit. I would have died if they legit just
that dude. The sound when he looks at the sky and he goes with his lasers and it goes,
like it go.
Boom! That was sick, dude.
If they just memed
the sound of that whole
movie,
good.
I would have still been so happy.
Every single line of his is a meme. Unlimited power. Unlimited power. The stupid flip he does when he says it's a tree shot.
I am the
And he makes that sound.
I am the Sith. What was your favorite scene though?
Oh man, like there's not like a single scene that really stuck out to me. Other than my favorite like funny scene with that little like Russian
Babu Freak.
What kind of a name is that though? Can we talk about that?
Oh, that's a Star
Babu Freak.
That is the Star Wars name.
I would say my favorite part of the movie is just like I don't know, the fact that it disregards The Last Jedi quite a bit.
Would it be that scene where Luke catches the lightsaber?
That part.
Oh, I love that.
Actually.
That's a good part.
How about when Luke lifts up the X-wing out of the water like Yoda does?
Oh, so good,
man.
dude.
It was like beat per beat that scene from the.
He smiles. You can tell he's kind of happy.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard at that part though, where Luke is just like, "Yeah, you remember all that stuff I said? I was wrong.
Forget it."
Yeah, you're right. That's where I was like, "Oh man, they gotta fix that." But I think my score is 8.5. Maybe even a 9. Like I literally love it so much, and it just made me. It's not that it's perfect; it just made me feel good, and it just, I don't know. It was good. I saw it again the next day. It took me one day to go back and see it, so that's a good sign.
Well, I saw Force Awakens 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
I think I like this movie more. I don't know if I'm in the financial place to watch this movie 5 times, but
if you pirate it, you're in the financial place to watch it as many times
as you want.
I watch it every morning. And
this is not an admission of guilt. No, I think so. My score's the same, or maybe goes even up. I don't know. It's a fun. I would say my favorite part is the battle on the Death Star is the best scene in the trilogy, and I don't think there's another scene in the trilogy that's as good as that.
Yeah.
When Kylo Ren walks through that wave, like he just does not give a so good. And then I loved that whole transformation of Kylo where he realizes he's good and she realizes she could be bad. And then the scene when she transfers the lightsaber through the Force to Kylo and he goes like this.
And like it's a magic trick.
And then he pulls the wand out and he goes, yeah, he kind of shrugs at him. And then not the wand.
He's doing all the Han Solo things.
Yeah, when he shoots behind his back. That's why you're right, Nick. I actually would love to see some more good.
That's what I'm saying too.
Because good Ben Solo was awesome when he kind of pulls it out and he just kind of shrugs at him and then he just kicks the
and
lightsaber.
It's super funny too because I feel like just like seeing him as like on the light side, being a good person. He had so much character, even though he was in such a small part.
Yeah.
And like
When
seeing
he's
him
happy,
smile when he dies, I'm like, whoa, I've never seen him smile before.
It was well done. And then I think also the worst scene was, how the hell did Lando Calrissian in like 45 minutes get like the whole galaxy to like send ships? That's my biggest thing.
I've
where it's
heard
like,
He goes in and gets on the intercom. Everybody I've had sex with.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, Lando.
Over here.
If anybody's gonna do it, it's Lando.
It's a little setup in Han Solo. Lando has so many connections.
Yeah.
I love that Lando's like, hey, you know how you owe me one because I let you.
But also,
love to me in the
also
galaxy.
at that point, it's like it's not that hard to convince me. It's like literally all
The fate of the galaxy lies right here. But how did he get that many?
Palpatine's back. He has a fleet of Star Destroyers that all have Death Star.
But they didn't come. Why didn't they? That's so contradictory of why they didn't come save them on the last Jedi.
That part made me so pissed too.
But I think in The Last Jedi, everyone's like, yeah, we're going to stay on the winning side.
And now they're like, oh, shoot, Palpatine's back? That guy sucks.
Yeah, that guy, like,
yeah, like
I don't really trust
like
him.
the First Order is sort of just like an alt-right like neo-Nazi group, whereas Palpatine is straight up the Nazis coming back.
Well,
Like it's Hitler.
Wait, let me talk about that.
It's like Nazi zombies.
It's like, hey, Roman, Hitler's back.
Let me talk about that. That's another thing that we're actually getting kind of long, but basically,
Don't worry, dude. No, this is the special 2-hour premiere episode.
No one's going to
of our
listen to this
podcast.
shit anyway.
Sorry, I'm
if
sick.
the Emperor had set out the First Order while he builds the Final Order,
He didn't though.
so like, was he just doing it while they were a thing?
So if you read
Because
any,
it was weird that he had like was setting up his thing, but the First Order had already taken the galaxy.
No, they didn't take the galaxy. They took some of
They
that.
were winning by the end of Last
They
Jedi.
were winning, but from what I read online today is that they were winning, but they kind of just mostly had taken certain, like a bunch of star systems, like almost like a fascist group in, like, let's say Italy. Fascist Italy wasn't just taking like the whole country, like parts of the country were like, that's controlled by the fascists. They have their own military wing, even though they're just like a political party. So that's the way I thought of it.
yeah.
Okay.
What is it?
But the movies, it might not be smart enough to actually be saying that, and that's just what I've like justified in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a. What were you saying right there?
How he was building the Final Order.
Oh yeah, in the novels that have been released in like the past like 5 years, while JJ, I feel like he sort of pulled Palpatine out of his. The idea that Palpatine had done all this stuff has been built up a ton in all those novels. It's sort of just about like, so Palpatine, he like made like secret clones and like all these like robot stuff. He had robots, droids. He had done all of these little things that were provisions to make sure that the Empire wouldn't die at his death. Like he had done a ton of stuff. And so a lot of people had been talking about from the get-go with the Deep Snoke theories that he was a clone that Palpatine made, which is confirmed in the first 12 seconds of this movie.
Also, I want to say that they basically threw away Snoke's character in one line.
Yeah, and I don't care.
Character. I care
Because because
we just gotta differ there because I care. I feel I don't know
because Snoke was never interesting to me. He was the MacGuffin that died so quick. Like we never
mattered.
Yeah, he never mattered because the conflict was always Kylo Ray, and there was a little bit of conflict with like the sort of Hux and Kylo fighting for.
Should we wrap it up soon though?
Yeah.
So get to your favorite and least favorite. Bitch.
Oh.
It's fucking midnight, dude.
Okay.
All right.
My favorite part in this movie was the part where she looks up into the stars and you start hearing the voices.
Oh, man,
because when the last voice, when Luke comes in at the end and he's like, the Force. The
Jedi are in you now.
Well, no, he says the
I am
Force.
in you, the Jedi.
He says the Force will be with you. always. And it's just it's such a gush. It's just like I was like I felt like a 9-year-old little boy. I all the emotions that I felt through that entire movie just rushed right into me right there. And another scene that made me feel that, the one with when Finn starts talking about what the Force is to him, like what the Force is. I started feeling just this emotion build up inside me. Like if I was one of those people that is like for the Jedi religion, like that would be my Bible right there. That's that's my testimony.
It's the Holy Ghost.
That is the Force speaking to me for real.
My favorite part was just gotta be when Kylo Ren talks to his dad again and switches. That was probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
Because it kind of just brought everything full circle, and it reminds us what it was really all about.
Yeah.
It's a Kylo Ren story. And my least favorite part, Rose. Any part with her.
Oh my gosh. All 4 of her lines. They were literally the worst 4 lines.
Even her lines in this movie were bad, though. She said stuff, and I was like,
no, like,
she's not a good... People that said she was a good actor are still wrong. She's not good.
Can we talk about how she got pissed that Finn tried to sacrifice himself, and he does it again in the last movie anyways? Just to screw around. It's so funny.
I hate her so much.
She's like, what are you doing? We just talked about this. He's like, I gotta do something.
She's even bad at delivering this line. The general asked me to stay behind to study the specs on the Star Destroyer, see if there's a weakness. She still does that line terribly. She's a bad actress.
Literally, my favorite scene was when she pulls the freaking ruler out of the knife.
Yeah, Lisa Erickson, yeah. I
was like, literally, what the hell?
Yeah, you're right. That's a bad scene.
Yeah, I might agree with that. That might be my answer.
I think the consensus,
yeah, I just remember thinking they're like this. There are so many reasons why this shouldn't work.
Yeah,
I think that the consensus between all of us, though, is it's a messy film, but it's fun. It kind of does what it needs to do. And I think there's emotional resonance to that movie that there wasn't to, let's say, the past movie, and even to some of the prequels.
And we differ on our ratings in that sense, because I do agree with you. I mean, it did.
I think we all agree. We're saying the same thing.
I wouldn't say that alone is the reason why it should get above a 6.
Yeah.
What would you rate it as a bandage, though?
As a bandage to the Last Jedi, because
it was so quick too.
Well, not just that, it roped me back in.
Yeah,
you did
15 minutes in the movie. I'm like, okay,
because at the end of Last Jedi, at the end of Force Awakens, I wanted to know what happened next, and then the Last Jedi, I didn't care about what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the first of Skywalker,
12 seconds
back in, I'm like, okay,
I want to know what happened.
So 10 out of 10 Band-Aid film.
Like one word response. We don't have to talk about this, but I think it's weird that we didn't mention this at all. Did you think the CGI was good when there's the scene with Carrie Fisher and Arcana that come back?
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
During their training.
I like that they didn't overuse it.
Dude, can I have one of these protein bars?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they're mine.
Oh, they're sorry.
Okay, I'll wait till we're done because
I think.
Did you think it was good?
I think it was good.
Did you think it was good? Did you think it was good?
No, I did not recognize Luke. I thought that was Kylo Ren.
God, how did you think that?
Because his nose. It was his nose.
I thought it was fine.
I thought his nose was big. I thought it was
very
Princess Leia beating her kid up.
I thought they used it. I thought they used it in an appropriate amount, though.
Yeah, it was dark enough. They listened to all like when people complain about those sort of scenes in movies, the people who actually know stuff about like doing CG renders and stuff, they always say like there's too much light in this scene, like you need to like be a bit farther back, you can't be too close to the face, and they did all that. Like, there's a lot of movement, it was dark, it was the light came from one source, which was the lightsabers, and yeah, I think that scene was fine. But
cool,
we're ending now, so.
Yeah, okay, we're done. Yeah, if you guys like this, feel free to, I don't know,
like and subscribe.
Follow us all on Instagram.
Yeah.
We'll put our links and everything.
If you think we're all just pieces of shit and don't agree with us, feel free to message me.
Find my DMs. Fight me.
If you can honestly make me feel anything, that would be an A+.
Yeah, I just don't want to be alone. Maybe if you're a girl out there, you just want to hang out and get to know.
Shout out to our future sponsor, Trojan condoms.
Trojan extra large Magnum condoms.
If you really want to help, leave a review in our thing. Like leave a review.
And next week we're going to be reviewing Cats. So tune into the Cats.
And so sort of the idea that we're going with here is, we're going to review Cats, but after that we're going to try to do a Oscar film every week so that we can get ready for the Oscars. And also we are going to be going to the Sundance Film Festival, and we're going to try to review at least 1 or 2 movies.
Oh yeah, I want to go see a few movies at Sundance this year again.
Okay.
Well,
hey, is that Malcolm in the back having sex?